my girlfriend whispered. You were never enough for me. I froze our accounts. Days later, she was banging on my door in panic. You know, I always thought that if a relationship ever ended, at least there'd be some honesty left. Some basic decency. But no, life's got a funny way of reminding you that people will say the coldest things right to your face, and they'll do it like it's nothing. My name's Mark, I'm 36 now, and I've been through a lot in my life, family drama, work politics, you name it. But nothing hit like this one. I was with her for almost 4 years. We built everything together, or at least that's what I believed. You put your time, your energy, your trust into someone. You think you're both pulling in the same direction, building a future. And then one night, she sits across from you, looks you dead in the eye, and says something you can't even process at first. Like your brain's buffering trying to load it. And that's exactly what happened to me. If you're a man who's ever poured everything into a woman, only to have her flip the table like none of it mattered, stick around. This one's for you. And yeah, if you're new here, don't forget to hit that subscribe button, you're gonna want to hear how this one plays out. And the crazy part is, it didn't even happen during some fight or heated argument. No man, it was one of those calm evenings where you think everything's fine. We just had dinner. She made that lasagna she knows I like. Poured us both a glass of red wine, played some soft playlist in the background. The kind of night where most couples would call it cozy. I was sitting there talking about this small business opportunity I'd been considering. Nothing huge, just something to maybe give us some financial breathing room. And she's sitting across from me, legs crossed, nodding politely. And then, out of nowhere, she drops it. Looks me dead in the face and says in this soft voice, like she's doing me a favor. You know, sometimes I wonder if I ever really felt anything with you. And brother, I swear, for a second, I thought I misheard her. I literally had to sit there and ask, what did you just say? She didn't even flinch. Just kept sipping her wine and repeated it even slower. I mean, you're safe. You're stable. But I don't know if I've ever felt anything real. That hit like a punch straight to the chest. Not because I didn't see trouble coming, but because of how cold she made it sound. Like I was some internship she was trying out until something better came along. But I didn't break. I just sat there, looked her dead in the eyes and said, that's good to know. She blinked like she expected me to lose it, to start begging, or get angry. But I didn't give her that satisfaction. That's when I knew, this was already over. What she didn't know is that I was about to turn this entire thing inside out. And trust me, she never saw what was coming next. You know what stuck with me the most? It wasn't even just the words she said, it was how casual she made it sound. Like dropping that bomb with some light evening chat. But let's back this up for a second, because none of this came out of nowhere. We'd been together for almost 6 years. I met her back when I was still grinding 70-hour weeks trying to build my footing in my field. She was working some low-pressure marketing gig, always saying she was finding herself, whatever that means. I handled the bills, handled the rent, kept everything steady while she figured things out. And honestly, I never held it against her. I figured relationships were partnerships. Sometimes one person carries more, sometimes it balances out. That's life. My friends, though, they saw it differently. My buddy Dave straight up told me once over drinks, man, she's coasting. She's not pulling her weight. I'd defend her every time. Told them she just needed time, that it wasn't always about money, that she supported me emotionally while I built my career. And I believed that. At least I thought I did. But the last year or so, things started shifting. She got distant. Started spending more time at networking events. Always on her phone late at night, locking it when I walked by. Little things you try to brush off at first. But man, you feel it. You feel when your woman checks out mentally before she checks out physically. The affection turned into routine. The conversations dried up. And every time I tried to bring it up, she'd either flip it around. You're being paranoid, you're overthinking, can't you just relax? Or she'd just flat out shut down. And me? Like an idiot, I swallowed it. I didn't want to believe where my gut was pointing. One night, my boy Marcus said something that stuck. He goes, bro, stop defending someone who wouldn't defend you. That hit different. But even then, I kept trying to fix what she clearly didn't care about fixing. And all that led up to that one damn dinner, where she finally pulled the mask off herself. Told me to my face that I was never enough. Like I was just some placeholder until something better showed up. But here's the thing, when someone shows you who they really are, believe it. And I did. Right there, in that moment, I decided I was done playing catch-up. She didn't know it yet, but the second she dropped that line, the game flipped. I wasn't gonna beg. I wasn't gonna argue. I was gonna build the exit strategy. And when it landed, it was gonna land heavy. And you know what really burned? It wasn't just her words, it was that she said it like she was doing me a favor. Like she finally let me in on some secret I should be grateful to hear. She sat across from me at that dinner table. We were at some overpriced fusion place she insisted on, with that half smirk, like she was so damn enlightened. She goes, "I've tried, I really have. But I just never felt anything real with you. It's always felt like safe, comfortable, not passion." I just stared at her for a second. Let her talk. Let her dig her own grave. She kept going like she rehearsed it. "I need something more. You deserve someone who actually feels for you, you know?" And that's when I knew this wasn't spontaneous. This was scripted. She'd been lining this up. Probably already had someone else lined up too, let's be real. But I didn't give her the drama she was fishing for. I didn't get angry. I just sat back, took a sip of my whiskey and said, "Noted." That one word threw her off. She blinked, like she expected some begging or some emotional meltdown. "Not gonna happen, sweetheart. You made your move. Now watch mine." After dinner, she tried to play it like nothing major happened. Like we were gonna have some mature adult conversation in the car ride home. She even reached for my hand in the parking lot. I pulled my keys out, looked at her hand for a second, then opened my door and said, "You got your ride?" She stood there for a second, confused, but she finally got it. I drove home alone that night, windows down, letting the cold air hit my face while my mind started doing what it does best, calculating. No anger, no panic. Just pure clarity. The woman I built a life with just told me I was never enough, and she expected me to sit across the table and process that like some damn therapy session? Nah. What she didn't realize was, I don't yell. I don't argue. I eliminate problems. And by the time she figured out what I was doing, it was gonna be too late. When I got home that night, I sat in the living room for a while, just thinking. No TV, no music, just the low hum of the fridge and my own mind running. You hit that point where you're not sad, you're not mad, you're just done. That's a different kind of fuel. And when a man gets to that place, trust me, there's no coming back. I started going over everything in my head, every little thing she said over the past few months that now made way more sense. All the sudden late nights, all the work trips, that popped up last minute, the weird way she always kept her phone flipped down when we were home. It was all there. I just didn't want to see it back then. But now I saw it crystal clear. And once you see it, you can't unsee it. The next morning, I went into full shutdown mode, quietly. I logged into every joint account we had, the checking, the savings, the investment portfolio. We both worked, but let's be honest, I carried most of the weight financially. She always wanted to play housewife vibes even though she worked part-time at best. I froze every single account. Changed passwords. Cut off access to the credit cards I paid for. She wouldn't feel it immediately, but she'd feel it soon enough. I wanted her to feel that same emptiness she just dumped on me at that table. Then I called my buddy Mark, guy's been my financial advisor for years, and said flat out, "Lock everything. Nothing moves unless I approve it." Mark didn't even ask questions. He just said, "Understood." And that's when I knew, this wasn't going to be some petty breakup. This was about control now. Mine. 2 days go by, and she doesn't even notice. She's still playing sweet at home, making dinner, trying to act like we were in some kind of cooling-off period. As if I was just going to sit and heal after what she pulled. On the third day, though, I get the text. "Hey, my card just got declined at the salon." Weird. "Can you check?" I smiled reading that. I replied, "No worries, I'll handle it." But I handled it, all right. I handled everything. Quietly. Cleanly. And the panic hadn't even started yet. She was about to learn exactly what it feels like to be not enough. Only this time, from my side. The funny part? She still thought she was in control. Like I was gonna sit here, lick my wounds, and beg her to stay. No. That version of me died the second she whispered those words at that dinner. I was watching her closely now, not as a husband trying to save something, but as a man who was dismantling a problem. She had no clue. She still smiled in the mornings, still did her half-assed, "Hey babe," routine, kissed me before leaving for work. But I could see the shift. That nervous energy started creeping in when her debit card kept getting declined here and there. At first, she tried to play it off like it was some banking glitch. "Hey, maybe the bank's doing maintenance or something?" she said one night while pouring herself a glass of wine. I looked right at her, calm as hell, and said, "Yeah, could be. You know how banks are." She gave me a little nervous laugh. but her eyes told the truth. She was starting to feel the walls move. And every time she left the house, I kept prepping. Quiet moves. Clean moves. I called our lawyer, technically mine now, and got the ball rolling on separating every asset that I legally had rights to. Funny thing about handling your business right? She never read half the paperwork she signed when we moved in together. Everything was still in my name. The house? Mine. The cars? Leased under my LLC. The investments? 90% in my personal accounts. She always thought she was the smart one, because she handled the monthly bills and credit card points, but the real ownership, that was never hers. And now I was making sure every tiny loophole was shut tight. My lawyer said, "You want me to notify her yet?" I shook my head. "Not yet. She's gonna feel it before she sees it." He smirked. Cold. Damn right. I didn't want a clean break. I wanted her to experience exactly what it feels like to lose control 1 inch at a time. That's how you break someone who thought they were smarter than you. You take away the illusion first, and let the reality sink in real slow. 3 days later, she comes home early. Something was off. She's flustered, holding her phone like it personally betrayed her. "My credit score just dropped like 70 points. What the hell is going on?" I didn't even flinch. I calmly sipped my coffee, looked her dead in the eyes, and said, "I'm sure you'll figure it out." That was the moment her mask cracked. She didn't say anything for a full minute, just stood there breathing heavier. She knew now, this wasn't random. And I wasn't playing defense anymore. I could see her pacing more often now. She started leaving the house earlier, making weird phone calls in the car, always checking on something, with the bank or calling customer support. That's when the desperation started creeping into her voice. Not that fake confident tone she usually used. This was different. She was scrambling, but still trying to play it cool around me, like I didn't notice. One night she sat across from me at dinner, barely touching her plate, staring at her phone. I finally said, "You good?" She forced a little laugh. "Yeah, just some random account issue. I'll handle it tomorrow." I nodded, not breaking eye contact. "Of course you will." She flinched. See, when a woman thinks she's got the upper hand for too long, that slow realization that she's losing it, it hits them different. And brother, that moment was getting closer. What she didn't know was that while she was busy calling her bank, her credit cards were frozen because I pulled the strings behind the scenes. Joint accounts? Closed. Access to savings? Blocked. Credit lines? Slashed. Every little financial crutch she thought she had, gone. I even pulled my name from the utilities. The house bills? Good luck with that, sweetheart. You want to play games? I'll teach you the rules. 2 days later, she came storming into my office while I was reviewing some numbers for a client. She slammed her phone on my desk. "Why are all the cards being declined? I can't even access my own money." My client looked up, surprised, but I stayed calm, cool. "You mean our money? The accounts you used to fund your little side projects?" She froze. Her face dropped. That was the first time I openly called it out. She wasn't expecting that. She tried to push back. "You're being controlling." I stood up slowly, leaned forward, voice steady but low. "No. I'm being done." And with that, I grabbed her phone, handed it back to her, and said, "Figure it out." She stood there for a second, breathing heavy, blinking like she was trying to process it all. She left the office that day in silence. But I knew the real panic was only starting. That night, she texted me a dozen times. Apologies, guilt trips, blaming the bank, blaming technical issues. I didn't reply to any of them. That silence? That was my answer. The next phase was already in motion. My lawyer was finalizing every legal document I needed, and within 24 hours, she was about to find out just how little she actually controlled in this house. The next couple of days were like watching someone slowly drowning but pretending they were still swimming. She kept putting on this forced smile every time we crossed paths at home. Coffee was brewing, TV playing in the background, some fake cheerful hum to herself while her eyes darted back and forth to her phone like a damn slot machine waiting for a jackpot that wasn't coming. Her voice got shakier too. She'd say these little things like, "Babe, I think there's some issue with the joint card again. Can you maybe check it when you have time?" And I'd just sip my coffee, stare at her for a second longer than usual, and say, "Yeah, I'll take a look when I can." That pause? That was deliberate. That moment where her brain started to question if I knew more than I was letting on. She was breaking down from the inside but still trying to play normal on the outside. Classic. Then came the real twist. 2 of her little side businesses, started collapsing because she couldn't pull money out anymore to pay her freelancers. One of them even texted her while we were sitting on the couch, saying, "Hey, your payment bounced again. What's going on?" She got pale. I pretended not to notice, but I absolutely caught every single twitch. She tried to play it off like nothing, stood up, walked into the kitchen with her phone and whispered angrily into it like I couldn't hear. That night, I saw her crying quietly in the guest bathroom. She thought I was asleep, but I heard everything. I sat there in the dark, listening to her breakdown behind the door while she whispered into the phone to her friend. "I don't know what to do. I thought he'd never find out." And I swear, hearing that was like pouring concrete over whatever little piece of sympathy I had left for her. She did this to herself. She gambled with my trust, and now she was watching the entire house of cards cave in. The next morning, she tried to flip the script. That was funny. She sat me down and said, "Look, I think we both made mistakes. Maybe we can reset everything, you know? Start fresh?" And I just stared at her, dead calm. "A reset? After everything you've done?" "Nah. I'm good." She blinked fast, her lip quivering. "Babe, you're being unfair." I smiled, leaned back in my chair. "Unfair? You telling me you never felt anything with me wasn't unfair?" That shut her down real quick. She went completely silent. No more arguments. No more fake tears. Just raw panic building under her skin. She knew she lost control. And the real punch was still coming. Because while she was playing these amateur games, my attorney had already filed the separation paperwork, frozen all marital assets, and secured every account under my name. She thought she was drowning before? She hadn't even seen the deep end yet. A few days after that little reset conversation, things really started crumbling for her. The first warning shot came when she got denied at the grocery store checkout. I was sitting in the car waiting while she ran in for a few things. She comes back out pale, holding her phone like it just electrocuted her. She gets in and tries to play it cool. "Hey, can you check the bank app when we get home? Might be some glitch." I didn't even turn to look at her. Just said calmly, "Yeah, I'll check." That was her first real taste of what losing control feels like. But the thing about people like her? They still think they can outmaneuver you, even when they're already in freefall. Next day, she's blowing up my phone while I'm at work. Back-to-back missed calls, texts piling up. "We need to talk. Please call me. It's urgent." And when I finally pick up, she goes full panic mode. "I don't know what's happening. The joint accounts are frozen, my business cards are declining, even my Venmo isn't working." I let her pour it all out, then I just said, "Yeah, I know. That's intentional." Dead silence on the other end. Then came the desperate high-pitched voice. "Wait, you did this? You can't. This affects my work, my income. You're ruining everything." My voice stayed flat. "You ruined everything. I'm just locking the door behind you." She started crying right there on the call, voice cracking, breathing heavy. "Please, we can fix this. We can work through it." I let that hang for a second, then hit her with it. "You never felt anything with me, remember? Well, now you get to feel what nothing really means." And I hung up. After that, she tried a different tactic, the guilt card. She had her sister call me, trying to play the mediator. "Come on, man, you're being too harsh, she made a mistake." I shut that down fast. "Nah, your sister made a series of decisions. Now she gets the full package." No more calls from her sister after that. The desperation only kept building. I could see it physically on her face at home. Eyes sunken, hands shaking while trying to scroll through her dead accounts, trying to find something that wasn't empty. And here's the kicker, that week, her clients started pulling out because she couldn't pay her subcontractors. One guy even left a public comment on her business page about unpaid invoices. I watched her read it at the kitchen table, tears quietly streaming down, but I didn't offer a word. She was breaking herself down now, piece by piece, without me needing to lift a finger. The humiliation was no longer private. It was bleeding into her business, her reputation. And she still didn't fully understand how far this would go. The real unraveling came when her little empire started turning against her. Once money dries up, loyalty evaporates fast. Her assistant quit after not getting paid for 2 weeks. Vendors started posting late payment notices publicly. And you know how fast that spreads in our industry. Her little boutique business, that she used to brag about like it was her crown jewel, started rotting from inside. And the more she tried to cover it up, the worse it got. She even tried to book meetings with some of my old contacts, guys who used to do me favors back when I was quietly setting up my exit plan. One of them called me and said, "Hey man, she reached out. Told me you two were having financial troubles and she just needs temporary support." Should I take the meeting? I laughed, not because it was funny, but because it was predictable. I told him straight. If you value your own accounts, stay clear. She's circling the drain. And he got the message. Every door she knocked on was slamming shut, one by one. What really got me though was how she still had the audacity to pretend like we could fix this. She sat across from me one night at the kitchen table, voice shaky, eyes red, trying to pull one last Hail Mary. Look, I know I messed up. But we built this life together. You can't just destroy everything we worked for. I just looked at her. Calm. Measured. No anger. No. You built your lies, I built my way out. We're not the same. And I got up, left her sitting there like a ghost. The next morning, her parents showed up, uninvited of course. Her father tried to pull the whole man-to-man nonsense. Son, I think you're letting your emotions get the better of you. Marriage is about forgiveness. I didn't even let him finish. With all due respect, your daughter made her choices. This isn't emotion. It's consequence. He tried puffing his chest a bit, but he could see in my face, this wasn't a negotiation. They left pretty quick after that. But the panic in their eyes? That was priceless. They realized, probably for the first time, that I wasn't bluffing, and she had run out of lifelines. It didn't take long before the cracks turned into full-blown fractures. The first call came from her landlord, unpaid commercial rent. 3 months behind. He wasn't exactly gentle either. If I don't see a payment this week, I'm locking the doors. And he meant it. By the end of that week, her boutique was shuttered. Gone. The dream business, she used to wave in my face like proof she was better off without me, now just another empty storefront with a for lease sign. But that wasn't even the real collapse. The real blow came when her personal credit lines were frozen. See, she thought the accounts we shared were her safety net. What she never expected was that long before all this, I'd protected my assets legally. Quietly separated my personal finances, got my own attorney involved, set up my own LLCs, my own protected funds. When she started draining accounts thinking I wouldn't notice, she was draining her side. My side. Untouchable. And when her credit cards started getting declined at restaurants, boutiques, even grocery stores, that's when her world started spiraling. She tried to call me multiple times, but by then, her number was blocked. Instead, she began calling my friends, even my coworkers, trying to play victim. He's abandoning me. He's freezing me out. I don't know what to do. They all gave her the same answer. You should have thought of that before you made your choices. I kept my circle tight for a reason. Loyalty doesn't need explaining when people know your character. The worst part? She started showing up at my apartment building. At first, she just sat in the lobby for hours, waiting for me to come down. When that didn't work, she began texting random friends. Please tell him to talk to me, I'm losing everything. The doorman, Frank, good man, called me one night, said, she's downstairs again. Crying this time. I said, just let her sit. Don't engage. And he did. The following day, her parents came back, only this time, desperate. Her mom, eyes red, voice shaky. Please. Just talk to her. She's falling apart. I kept my voice steady. She made her bed. Now she gets to lay in it. They didn't like hearing that. But they had nothing left to say. Watching them walk away, broken, after years of enabling her, I won't lie, that part felt justified. I wasn't being cruel. I was being done. A few weeks later, it all finally hit bottom. I was sitting in my office late one evening, nothing unusual, just wrapping up some reports. My phone lit up with a string of notifications. Not her, not even her parents this time. It was mutual acquaintances, even distant family friends, people I hadn't heard from in years. Every message read the same way. You need to see this. I clicked the first link. There she was, sitting in her car outside a strip mall parking lot, live streaming herself. Red eyes, tears streaking her face, mascara ruined. I've lost everything. He won't even speak to me. I made mistakes, but nobody deserves this. The comments under the video? Brutal. People calling her out, reminding her exactly how she got here, how many bridges she burned, how many lies she told. It wasn't just money anymore. Her name was in shambles. Business partners had walked away. Friends distanced themselves. And the few people who used to defend her? They were quiet now. I leaned back in my chair, exhaled, and simply watched. Not out of joy. Not out of spite. Just a calm sense of closure. You know, when you fight fire with fire, you usually get burned too. That's why I stayed cold. I played the long game. And it worked. The following weekend, her parents showed up one last time. They didn't ring the buzzer, They waited outside my building, like they knew better by now. Her father, the same man who once looked at me like I wasn't good enough for his daughter, now stood there looking hollow. When I finally stepped outside, he opened his mouth like he wanted to say something. But I cut him off. It's done. There's nothing left to say. You all made your choices. He nodded, didn't argue. Just quietly put his arm around his wife and walked away. As for her, she hasn't tried contacting me directly since. No more texts. No more calls. Just silence. I hear she moved out of state, living in some small apartment, trying to rebuild whatever scraps she's got left. Me? I rebuilt too. Only I did it right. New place, stronger career, smaller circle, but solid people who respect loyalty. And sometimes, late at night when I pour myself a drink and sit out on the balcony, I don't feel anger anymore. Just peace. Because you know what? Some people you don't save. Some people you just walk away from, and let them face exactly what they created.